Hello and welcome to my channel. Consider subscribing if you like my vibe, and with that said, let's go ahead and jump into today's topic. The Final Fantasy XVI demo came out a few days ago. I played through it, it was about a 2-hour experience, and I actually really liked it. It definitely boosted my expectation of the final product. So starting with the visuals, I wasn't a big fan of the art direction from the first previews we were getting. I was just noticing a lack of color. They were really focusing on a grounded take of the Final Fantasy universe. There wasn't a lot of color. There wasn't a lot of fantastical elements in it. The pops of color that we did get wasn't really enough for me. And, I really look to fantasy for brighter elements, sunnier elements. I like whimsical, weird, gangly little monsters, and I like things like that. And so Final Fantasy has always been my place for that. Just thinking about the chocobos and the various enemies that they have in this series, they're not Dragon Quest levels of absurd, but it always stood out from other fantasy games. And the trailers that we were getting for this, it really felt like it was trying to be like a Lord of the Rings or a Game of Thrones. The colors were really muted. And having played the demo, I'm very glad that I didn't make a video talking about this, because I was definitely wrong. The demo was a lot more colorful than I thought. I was getting Final Fantasy XIV vibes, which isn't a bad thing, it was just something I noticed. The summons, particularly Shiva, is everything. The summons in this game, or as they're called in Universe and 16, icons, are iconic. I really liked the direction that they took with them, and they definitely added that fantastical pop of color to the game, and I really liked that. Overall, the game was a lot more colorful than I thought it would be. One of my takeaways is that this game excels when it leans into its Final Fantasy roots. When it is being itself, it's great, but where it's trying to be something else, it's trying to be Lord of the Rings, that's when it loses its charm. And you could see that with how the goblins look like in this game. I wasn't getting Final Fantasy from the goblins. They definitely played it safe with the designs, but there was a larger goblin that you encounter later in the game, which definitely fit more with Final Fantasy. And then of course you have like a carnivorous plant boss that you fight, which screamed Final Fantasy, and I absolutely loved that. The designs really shine when it's staying Final Fantasy and not trying to be Lord of the Rings. Moving into the general gameplay, using spells, particularly Flames, which was the only real spell that we had access to in this demo, felt really good. There was a dedicated projectile button for spells. There was a dedicated button for potions as well, so combat just felt very streamlined. I didn't feel like I was navigating menus, trying to push several buttons at once, trying to pick specific spells similar to like Kingdom Hearts or Final Fantasy 15. It just felt very nice to shoot spells in between combo moves, and I think the flow of combat was definitely inspired by 15. One of my favorite changes to gameplay in this is picking up items is automatic, and it's very snappy. Items are very clearly indicated on the map with a blue glow, and when you approach it, it just snaps. It snaps right into your inventory, and it's just yours, and you know what it is, and you don't have to press a button and you have to read what it is. It just, you pick it up automatically, and I love that. That needs to be incorporated in every single game. I hate when I'm playing Tears of the Kingdom and I'm mashing the pickup button when I'm walking by ingredients and stuff. This is just great. The cinematic strikes during boss battles are a fancier version of reaction commands, and I love it. Does this mean we're getting reaction commands in Kingdom Hearts again? Who knows? But I absolutely love it. It's definitely a nice touch to the boss battles. The gameplay really does feel like an evolution from Final Fantasy 15 and Kingdom Hearts 3, and I'm very curious what elements will carry over into the other IPs that Square Enix has. However, it did take a long while to get started with some real gameplay once this demo started, and this moves us into the demo's pacing, and by extension, its story. The overall opening reminded me of the start of Skyrim with the dragon attack. We're maneuvering with our gang through a mountainside that's being torn apart from an Eikon battle. So these two icons are battling, and it's destroying a nearby mountain, and so everything's falling apart. You're navigating through it, and it's kind of showcasing the scale of these things and how they impact just regular people, which is really neat. There was the JRPG trope of, you know, everything's fine, and you're in a kingdom, and here's your wholesome family, and your evil mom, and everything's fine, ? Maybe there's a war, and then you blink, and then it all falls apart. Your kingdom is taken over. Your dad dies. It definitely didn't stand out from all those other stories, which was a little disappointing, but it did have a unique Final Fantasy aesthetic thrown on top of it, and the gameplay was really fun. So I'm still invested. We're going to see what happens. I haven't lost faith yet. I definitely sense some twists and turns in this story, and I'm very interested in seeing the other kingdoms and the other groups that centralize around an Eikon. I really like your evil Disney biomom. She's just so unapologetically evil. She doesn't really show any motivation yet. She's just baseline bad, and I'm all about it right now. Hopefully she gets a little bit more depth later, but right now it's just like the cartoonishly evil parent is a really fun thing for me, and I haven't really seen that in a Final Fantasy game before. Let's go with it. And then the Eikon battle itself, playing as the Eikons, I was so excited when I figured out that we were playing as the Eikons, and when the health bar showed up, I was like, is this gonna turn into a fighting game? What's happening here? And then I was disappointed. It was a really beautiful cinematic battle between the Eikons, but there wasn't really much to do on my part other than just hold the projectile button down. It felt more like an interactive cutscene. As for the music was giving me Dragon Quest vibes. Obviously, there were definitely blatant in-your-face Final Fantasy riffs on occasion, but overall, I was really getting Dragon Quest from this. And generally, if I'm being totally honest, I still kind of wish that we got a 15 too, but it is really interesting how there are a lot of parallels you can make between Final Fantasy 15 and 16 on how they both start and their protagonists, and yet they still feel very different. And I do think it's because this game is more inspired by Western fantasy, and so I am curious to see if there are any more major differences as we move further down the line thematically in the story itself. Closing out, I was pretty happy with this demo. It had some more fantastical elements than I initially thought it was going to have. The gameplay was very snappy, and it made some smart improvements over 15, and I'm really interested in the various icons we'll encounter, and I love our new evil mom. I cannot wait to sink my teeth into the main game when it launches, and I'll share my thoughts on that in a future video. What did you think about the demo? Let me know in the comments down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll talk to you again next week. Bye.